Welcome back to Crown's Crypto Cave and another Sunday relaxed little morning here, preparing you for the day before you go pray to your perhaps false prophets of bull Jesus, bear Jesus, but no, the real Jesus is goat Jesus. And with that said, I'd like to continue this little Sunday morning weekly wrap-up series that I've really been enjoying recently. And we have some new price action to deal with in the last 12 hours. We have a clear and concise close above this 100 exponential, this cyan line right here on the daily, which is always a big deal. Certainly a big deal. You can see that on today's on the following daily, which is the one that we got about 6 or so hours ago. It has come back and retested that 100 exponential almost perfectly, waking us down to 71.30. That 100 exponential is technically coming in around 71.37. So that was really your big buying opportunity if you did want to play this long trade right here. However, because it is the weekly wrap up, we always want to be aware of what the hell does a weekly even look like, as that is the higher time frames do kind of rule all. It's like the one time frame to rule them all, except, well, then you go to a higher time frame and it's a monthly, huh? So there's always bigger fish. But for Bitcoin, the weekly does have a lot of sway and price action. As you can see right here, it's a pretty big deal, because Bitcoin will have a chance to close above this green 55 exponential, which is coming in around 71.80-ish area. And this is a big deal to me because it is imperative that the bulls start closing these weeklies above this exponential. And really, it would be a lot, it would be a lot more optimal if they could close it above the yellow 21 exponential, which is coming in around 7,400. The reason for this is because if they continue to fail to maintain price action above this, let's call it 72 to 72.50-ish region, they will risk at some point in time, depending upon how weak the price action is or strong, they will risk a cross of the 21 exponential to the downside of the green 55, which, if you're wondering why that's even a big deal, well, it's because a lot of the ways that the bots and algorithms of the world are programmed, they will respect this kind of thing, and they will intensify their selling algorithms. To give you an example of what has happened in the past, of the only other time you've ever seen this cross ever happen in Bitcoin's almost 10-year history over here, would be right here, the yellow 21 exponential cross to the downside of the green 55. You can see that we are consolidating along that weekly 100, and it just, boom, sent it all the way down to its ultimate capitulation down here. So this is a pretty big deal in my opinion, because as long as you're kind of stuttering along that area, that will still be an obstacle and something to be aware of. And one of the reasons why I am hesitating taking a long trade here. Now, I did actually buy that retest of the 100 exponential a little bit higher, like 71.60 something rather. But fair, good enough is good enough. We're about $50 higher right now, and I'll be hodling that as long as we're essentially closing 2 hours above this 71.90-ish region. Anyways, so with that said, you can see that overall, if you did want to represent the more bullish take on this, and I'm going to give both sides their due credence, but the bulls are they're kind of taking the reins right now, so we'll give them the first go. And if we put on our drawing tools over here, you can see that actually you can certainly represent this as a falling wedge. It does have the right shape, the right size, the right smell, the right taste, the right volume characteristics as well, which is important. And it is crawling its way back up to the upper resistance. You do have a couple of big exponentials coming in right around here, around the 7,500 mark, which is exactly where I'm aiming to get in a few shorts or let this long go at the very least. So right here, right now, yes, this is a 3-day chart over here, which does typically get price action pretty damn well. But again, anytime you're trading a wedge, I absolutely hate them. If you're familiar with me, you know that I'm a wedge racist because, well, about 3 to 4 weeks ago, the right way to draw this wedge when we had just this high and this high was this way, and then you boost it up and you technically break it. You break it on very low volume, and then you get shoved right back down the following 3-day. On a little bit heavier volume. It's still pretty damn light in the overall grand scheme of things. But the point is that, hey, technically speaking, now you can just redraw them, and that's completely fine when you're doing wedges. And one of the reasons why I really hate them, and you just get a lot of failure to break out. And anytime that you do get a breakout failure pattern, and you move the other way, it usually moves the other way very fast, as that's indicative of some sort of institutional order flow dynamic at play. So with that said, this does offer up a nice opportunity if we do see continuations here, which I think is Likely. The fact that you got a couple of 3 days closing above this yellow 21 exponential over here, and then this guy taking out the high of that consolidation around this area, that's a sign of strength, in my opinion, in the shorter terms. Now, of course, am I overall bullish? No. I need to see a few things to get overall bullish. First things first, I'd want to see this level taken out, obviously, but that's not a death sentence for the bears over there. Now, if you start making a new high over this guy right here at around 83, 8400, well then you got some, because now you're making a higher high by definition, and we quite literally just haven't seen that in the last 9 months or so. But the last of the Mohicans for myself in saying, hey, I think the low is in. It's time to be BTFD. Is that even how you say it? I'm not used to this. I'm not used to using these words out of my mouth. Would be if you start closing higher level time frames above this 10,000 mark right around here. If you can do that, then yes, I will be a believer and I will be a buyer, more importantly. But until that happens, the downside is always going to be in the back of my mind, especially as long as we're below this local high right around here. So again, as always with current price action, it looks good, it feels good, but don't lose sight of the trees in the forest, or however the fucking saying goes. I don't know how it goes, but my point is that the higher time frames are telling you something here, and they're telling you that, hey, yes, this move is kind of nice, but it needs to prove itself a lot more before you can start to say, hey, we got a bottom in here. So let's go present the bearish case then. Let's go present the bearish case. I'm gonna go over here to my chart on Finex and get rid of that. Hey, we don't need that right there. Let's go to the daily, and I'm going to take everything off and just speak a little bit about volume over here. Now, volume has become sort of a meme in the good old cryptocurrency land, because you got all these people on Twitter and TradingView and all these YouTube places like myself. Just a little bit of a self-hating dig. Anyways, volume's become a little bit of a meme because, people who don't typically understand trading think that, volume equals good. Volume equals good. No, not always. In fact, in traditional equities, higher volume typically implies, downside movement. So fair enough. Anyways, just look at the VIX, right? When it's super low, it gets everyone on edge. Anyways, in this example over here, we are rallying ever since this guy over here about a week and a half ago on the 23rd of August that kind of sparked off and broke this consolidation to the upside on extremely low volume. Extremely low volume. Now, keep in mind, this volume is measured in coins traded, not necessarily, dollars traded. So to put it into context, you look at this action over here where price action is, like quite literally 2x where we are right now, and the volume is still 2x of where we are right now. So that is a little bit concerning. And just even in the more recent price action, which is related, even though it is a little bit higher over here, you can see that volume is even double over here. This was a real rally. This was, in my opinion, this was Bitcoin's chance over here to kind of dig itself out of its hole and say, hey, we're coming back. It's time to be bull. It's time to go onwards and upwards. As you can see over here in relation, it is extremely light, and that tells me that there's not that much participation within this rally. Perhaps leading into that narrative of consolidation. But again, are we consolidating just this area over here in the formation of perhaps let's go over here to the drawing tools, perhaps a bear flag? It's very, very possible indeed. Look at how we are respecting this upper resistance right here. I think that is certainly a possibility, and we would obviously have this lower support right around here. Very, very nice indeed. Now, of course, anytime that you have any sort of formation, whether it implies a bullish or bearish move, I don't give a fuck about that. What I care about is how we react along that given support or resistance. So you can actually put in a very nice horizontal right here and mark off our current high. And while it does kind of come in no man's land, it is still relevant. And we got this guy right here. So as long as we're kind of respecting this guy as resistance, you do have to be aware of the severe divergence in your semi-high time frame that's over here. If we do break it onwards and upwards, well, I think that this is kind of the logical next place around into the 7350 to 7400 region, which again would be, if we go over here to the CMEs, the good old gap fill from the CME. Whoops, this is not this. Whoops, wrong futures. Sorry, that is BitMEX futures. Here's the CMEs. There they are, and you can see right here that we have a major gap in between 7150 and 7400 ish. So if the bulls were to kind of come back and fill that, it's one of those classic plays. If you're familiar with traditional equities or anything that has opens and closes, for people who have lives, well, then you typically do want to, or typically a lot of the times you see things sell off on the first fill of that gap. Doesn't mean it'll full on reverse it. It might, but it can also it can also just act as like a little bit of a nice scalp, so to say. So again, we're well far away from there, but I just want to offer up this idea in case it does need to happen. As you can see right here, the CMEs are not trading right here right now. They're actually on, it's weekend, and we do have a holiday, I believe, on Monday. Happy Labor Day, by the way. I don't even know what that's about. Happy Labor Day. Don't work. There you go. Unless you're a trader, because then it doesn't matter. Well, you're gonna be working every day, anyways. So yeah, we have this area right here. So if it were to kind of open up and come into this area over here, that's what I'd be thinking in my mind. So we might have a few more days of upside is what I'm sort of suggesting over here. But again, it's never an easy thing to say like, hey, this is what's going to happen in the next few days. I don't know that. All I can say is this rally is certainly under question. It is it's not something that while I am a little bit long right now. In fact, actually I wouldn't say that I'm super long, but I am long. I'm not the finger is on the trigger extremely fast if this position turns around me at any moment. By the same token, how do you know that the bears have attacked successfully if they were going to in the interim? While I am more recently, I think that you probably do get another leg or something like that. I think that as long as you're above this area over here, 6,800ish, basically this low right here, I do look at this as you can always kind of come up with the more immediately bullish scenario. The second that you lose that, I think it's extremely likely that you probably do come back down and visit the 6250 low. Now 6250 low is very important. While you will have support along the way, as any time that you put in sideways price action like this, and you might even bounce off 6250. I mean, you probably will actually. The fact of just coming back down to it, depending upon the scenario, but pretty much in most scenarios, if you came back to it, just be a bad thing. Coming back to your lows, based on your lows over time, typically leads to new lows. And my big point with this is that hey, we get lost in the lower time frames. We as humans, myself included, have a difficult time with like percepting time, if that's even the right way of saying it. And I have a difficult time with speaking, okay, and stuttering sometimes too. Anyways. So with that said, my point is that until you actually start getting above those critical areas, it's very difficult to be overall bullish and say that the low is in. I know that plenty of people are triumphantly commenting on Twitter saying, guys, it's alt season. Guys, Bitcoin never going lower. Guys, if you bought below 7,000, you'll be so happy. And maybe you will. But from a technical analysis perspective, I think you'd be pretty damn hard pressed to find someone who has been doing this for quite some time that would agree with that. By the same token, if you do lose 6250, that is kind of your doomsday scenario. If you do lose 6250, very, very likely that, yes, you do have support right here around 6850. I do understand that, of course. We can mark it off even. Fine, that's completely fine. But my point is that, just coming back down there, very likely that you're going to finally crack this 5850 support, and there's very little holding you up from the higher 4,000 to about 5,000-ish area right around here. Yes, we don't necessarily have a measure move point us down there anymore because the bear flag of yesteryear has been broken to the upside, which is usually pretty damn impressive, which we did see, to be fair. But it also doesn't mean that we can't work around price action and come up with something as time goes on. So that's always a possibility, right? A possibility. So with that said, if I were to talk about why I am overall bearish in a way, well, man, I want to bring up the MVT signal over here. Can I bring it over here? Is it over here? Yes, it is. Okay, beautiful. All right, so we got this MVT signal over here. Now, this is a completely unique way to look at Bitcoin, in my opinion, because its calculation is not based off of anything that we're typically used to. It's based off of the network value divided by the 90-day moving average of daily transaction value, which probably means very little to you. However, it means very little to me too, to be honest with you. But if you can show me a chart like this that basically calls all the tops with extreme precision over time, I will pay attention. I will pay extreme attention, actually. So over here, you can see that, hey, in April of 2013, called the top perfectly. The beginning of 2014 called it perfectly. The bull trap of 2014 called it perfectly. End of 2017 called it perfectly. And now it's actually giving us a very similar signal to what you saw over here in the bull trap of 2014, which is another reason why I have some big blinders or red lights or cautionary lights going off in the back of my head. Like, be careful with this long that I'm currently in. I take it almost in like a dirty sense. It's almost like I don't want to, but I have to right now. So with that said, I always want to be offering up different points of view. I'm going to go over here and put you on the monthly. And the monthly is another reason why I have a difficult time being a buyer right now. The fact that we're dancing around this 21 exponential is not a sign of strength. As you can see over here, very, 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 very low volume, kind of just trudge around this area, which to me is indicative that we're consolidating on our lows to get ready to make some new lows. Now, I know people on TradingView and Twitter and all these crazy social media venues are calling this a bullish hammer, and just a little bit of, this is just common knowledge, but in order to have a reversal hammer, you need to have like a former downtrend. And yes, this is a downtrend over here, but when you're coming into a green guy before it, well, it doesn't necessarily hold up now, does it? So again, a little bit of an interesting interpretation of that, as always, from crypto Twitter, but you can't hate them. Again, from the overall view of this chart, we had like a 3-year bull market over here, pair of tweezer top candlesticks, and then reversal on heavy volume, consolidating this triangular formation right here, break it to the downside, and now we're kind of almost creating like a bear flag on the monthly is what it looks like. So again, when in doubt, pull it out and pull it out to the higher time frames, because those will tell you likely what's going on. Okay, so going back, let's go check out the 2-day. We haven't looked at that just yet now, have we? Yeah, so the 2-day is important as well, right? The 2-day is important, and it's actually doing something pretty unique over here. Or unique might not be the right word, but the 2-day chart does seem to get price action pretty damn well. We are closing back above the purple 200 exponential over here for the first time in a long time, which is important because, again, the green 55 is getting ever so close to that purple 200, which would imply a death cross. And again, the last time that we've ever had a death cross on the 2-day chart for Bitcoin in almost 10-year history was, it was right here, quite literally right here. So again, the fact that we are getting ever so close to that is a little bit scary. Now, as you can see in 2014 as well, similar to how the MVT signal was suggesting that we are, a little bit overdone here. You do see the 2-day start to rally into that cross right around here. So perhaps that is what we're witnessing over here. Again, you can't analyze these things one-to-one, but you certainly can. Look at the similarities between the indicators on them as they kind of help smooth price action out. So right here, right now, we are living above that. So, death cross averted for now. And I would imagine that, it looks like you're using your 200 exponential, this purple line right here, as support. So I like that. So I do think that this rally probably takes another leg. Does it take a strike at 7,500, 7,600? We don't know. We can talk. Let's talk about the resistances to be aware of over here. And let's do it like this. Again, let's go over the kind of case that we talked about on GDAX, and that would be this descending triangle case, essentially. Yes, you could maybe look at it as a falling wedge as well, whichever one kind of floats your boat over here. But again, you got this resistance up here, the top of the triangle at 76.50. So as long as you're below there, and as long as you're closing, higher level time frames below there, it's very difficult to be a buyer in, like, for a more longer term position, in my opinion. You will have this horizontal area coming in right around here. And on the daily, it's going to be right around here. So that past one around 7,300 was on the 4-hour. If I go to the daily, which is more important and what I really want to be paying attention to over here, the next big resistance is at 73.30, 73.50 area. Again, the gap fill on the CMEs. And if you take another, and if you do another guy right around, where would it be? Right around here, it looks like. Yeah, right around here. Oh, let's go to the daily, by the way. Um, then yes, it should be matching up very, yeah, there we go. It should be matching up very nicely with that purple 200 exponential right around here as well. And you can see that, hey, this red 200 simple moving average has been holding things back for quite some time. So while we are kind of rallying up right here, again, very low volume kind of trudges up, make me not the biggest believer. I was willing to accept that, hey, over here, it could have been the scenario over here. I certainly wasn't leaning towards it, but hey, it was certainly more of a possibility. Over here, I'm less of a believer. It's more just me looking for, okay, well, where do I want to be a seller? Right here at 73.50, maybe that's a good one. What about here at 7,500? What about here? Another test of this guy. What about another test of the 200 simple? All possible, all very, very possible. So again, what am I doing? I'm waiting for some sort of a reversal signal on a higher time frame. I want to see some divergences. I want to see some reversal candlestick formations. I want to see some major levels being hit. If they can all happen at the same time, that'd be beautiful. It's not that I want to. It's not that I want to see them. It's just that, if I see those things in confluence with each other, I become more confident in a trade. So yes, that's what I have my eyes on over here. Also, let's go over to the alts section over here. I'm gonna go check out Mr. Buteral, or Ethereum if you're not familiar with this sort of jargons. And I'm going to put it on the 8-hour over here. Now, now Ethereum has been represented as a symmetrical triangle coming off of a big downtrend, aka a bear pennant, for quite some time. However, if I do pull it out to the 4-hour, you have actually confirmed above this area right here. So is that valid? Well, it's valid on the 4-hour, but as you can see, you got shoved right back down the next resulting candle. So again, it's a little bit less than certain. If I go to the 8-hour, you can see that this gets a price action pretty damn nice, and you actually have a rejection right here. You do have fall through to the downside, but they're buying it up right here, right now. And I do believe that Mr. Buteral, Mr. Ethereum, does hold a lot of sway in this market. And if it were to break up or break down, you're going to see this. You're going to see probably everything else follow, as it does seem to lead currently. It was kind of like the first. It's been the first one to rally and the first one to fall for like the last couple of months. Actually, I'm sure that people have noticed that. So, with that said, that's probably going to do for this morning's video. Again, only ideas here. I think if you missed the retest of the 100 exponential, this cyan line right here on the daily, while I do think that it's very likely you see some more continuation from here, I can't say that I'd buy here. Not that this is financial advice or I'm a financial advisor or anything like that. Of course I'm not. But I'm just sharing what I do over here in those situations, and I probably wouldn't. I'd be hesitant. It's very difficult to be a buyer in this area right here. A lot of resistances. A lot of things have not. While they do look pretty right now, it also looks pretty set up. Oh, by the way, let's go check out the longs and shorts of it all. The longs. So this is the shorts chart over here on Finex, and we have lost all the way from the high of 40,000 shorts about a week and a half ago down to 22,300 shorts as of this moment on September 2nd, 2018. Nicholas Mertens. Sorry. Anyways, longs over here are going up, and so obviously I want to be relating the two, as longs are well above 28,000. They're 28,400 right here, right now. So that means that we have a ratio heavily in favor of the longs once again. And if you actually pull up the ratio, which I don't have a way of easily doing when I'm on stream right here, but essentially anytime that you have a ratio like this, it does put a lot of pressure on the price action, whether it's the longs, whether it's like favoring the longs or the shorts. Whenever you're like this, this far away from each other, it does seem to produce a counter trend movement. If I were to go over I don't really want to do it, but I really don't want to put them. I'll put them on. I'll put on the Bollinger Bands for the first time in a long time. Really not my favorite way of doing it, but it is. I just want to show that most things are disagreeing with the current price action. I'm going to take off these EMAs and just go on with the Bollinger Bands. And as you can see over here, let's go to the weekly Bollinger Bands. We're actually not even testing the midpoint right here, right now. So again, it's just very, very difficult to be a buyer right here. That midpoint is 7,400-ish. So as long as you're closing below there, it's even from using this metric over here, which is not my favorite way to do things. I'm in no way, shape, or form a Bollinger Band master. I've not spent nearly as much time as I do with other technical analysis tools. But this guy is still living below, and again, on very low volume. I just have a lot of cautionary lights going on around this. Now, the way to trade this, technically speaking, if you were to get a long entry on this, is you want to close a weekly above this, and then the next weekly has to both open and close above it. So the first time that we get one weekly, both opening and closing above the weekly midline on the Bollinger Bands, which is currently 7,400, then it's actually a little bit more of a high probability trade. But again, keep in context all of the other things that we're watching. It is currently a shit show. So I'm gonna leave it off with that. Yeah, I mean, basically that's the basic ideas going on over here. Take this guy off. Get out of there, Bollinger Bands. I might go back onto the 4 hour. And again, in the lower time frames, a lot of divergence. Perhaps we are in the context of a rising channel. Resistance right around here, 7,300, maybe 7,350, depending upon where you roll up to it at. If you do, 7,350 is also the gap fill in the CMEs. If you do get above there, you have this horizontal to deal with right here at 7,500. That's your 200 exponential on the daily, I believe, as well. Yes, it is right around there. And if you get above there, then you have the descending resistance trend line that Bitcoin's been living under for about the last 9 or so months. So a lot of things to deal with, and this is why it's very, very difficult to be taking longs right here. So again, if I didn't get this long in on the 100 exponential down here, I probably would not be trading this right now, to be very, very clear. And again, as long as Bitcoin is above this 6,800-ish level, 6,750 to 6,800, you can be leaning a little bit towards the upside in a way, or perhaps maybe the better way of putting it is not expecting like severe downside back to the 6,250 level, which I think would likely give way to the 5,800, and then probably give way to the 5,000 level pretty damn soon after that. Again, the monthly does not look good to me. So that's what I do have in mind. But hey, if I want to become a bull, there's what needs to be done. And until then, I'm just kind of sitting back and waiting and watching and ploticizing, if that's even a word. By the way, the Technical Analysis Program is on sale. It's still on sale for a little bit longer. For 20% off with the code in all capitals, UOLD. Once again, here, I'll type it out just once again. It's quite literally exactly what I said. UOLD in all capitals. There you go. Right there in front of your face. That's it. UOLD, and there you go. 20% off. It is almost, I just added another module yesterday, so it's now 31 modules long, so that's about 11 bonus modules or 10 bonus modules, whatever it might be, but it's been my pleasure to create it. It's about 28 to 29 hours long now, so if you are interested in investing in something towards this, be aware it's a big time commitment. It does come with the hidden Discord access, which is where all of the members of this program kind of congregate and talk about the different strategies and whatnot related to the program. I talk about my trades, I talk about my strategies, and then everyone, we all kind of have like a really good group think dynamic going on, really, really good conversations going on there, as well as the free Discord as well, which is, which I hang out obviously at pretty much at the same time. So again, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you on this lovely September 2nd morning. And I'll be back on perhaps later tonight. I don't know. I might want to celebrate my own self for a little bit of time, but you never know. Until then, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.